Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the third day of our Natural Scotland Week. And today we have a special guest for you. And we're going to go over a little bit about what we've already learned. And then I'll introduce Daniel and he'll tell you all about rainforests. So Monday we did animals and Tuesday was about geology. Today is all about rainforests, and you might be wondering, what do you mean? We live in Scotland, but you'll see in a moment. And Thursday is all about folk stories. Remember, on Friday, we have an assembly where we're going to share all the lovely things that you've been sending in to us. Thank you so much. And we'll recap everything that we've learned. So first, before we get started, I wanted to ask you what you remembered from yesterday. Now, I know there are a few of you here today with us that weren't able to join us yesterday, and you're going to watch the recording later. But that's okay. You can just guess just now if you want, okay? Because you don't need to have been at yesterday's lesson to participate today, okay? But for those of you who were here yesterday, let's see how much you were paying attention, okay? Do you remember what these two photos have in common? Can anyone remember what they have in common? I think there's a hint in the photograph on the left. Aha. Yes. Well done, Elderbank. Oh, sorry. Hello, Elderbank, and well done, Mrs. Brown's class. These are both volcanoes. And yesterday we learned that Arthur's Seat is actually formed from the inside of an old volcano, which I thought was very fascinating. Okay, how about this one? Why are our mountains so much lower than the ones in the Himalayas, the Alps, or the Andes? Can anyone remember? The one on the right looks very pointy, and the one on the left is very smooth. Remember? Seeing some good answers in there. I think that's part of it. Yes, a few schools have said it's because our mountains are much older. So what has happened to them? Do we think? Can we remember what has happened to the, yes, erosion? Well done. Yes. So because they're older, they've had a lot more time to be eroded, and that's why they're so much smoother. And lastly, what can we see in the Highland Boundary Fault? Remember where Joe was yesterday? Do you remember when he was, if you haven't seen it yet, it's very cool. Our colleague Joe climbed up Connick Hill for us, and he was showing us where you can see the Highland Fault. So what can we see there? What can we see in the Highland Boundary Fault? Okay, so I'm seeing some answers of where we can see it, which is great. Okay, but I'm looking for what can we see? How can we, okay, yes, there are some answers saying islands in a line. Well done, yes, because that is one of the things that Joe showed us yesterday. But how do we know we're looking at a boundary fault? What can we see on either side? Anyone can remember, there's a big hint. He was holding up two things, one from one side and one from the other. And that's how you can, I mean, you can tell from looking at the map because you can see the difference, but you can see two different types of what on each side. You see mountains and flatland. Yes, so that's one sign. Yes, there you go. Mrs. Garland's class has got it, and Mrs. Wilson's class. You can see different types of rock. Remember, he was holding up a piece of conglomerate rock, which is all different types of rocks smushed together. And then he was holding up a piece of red sandstone as well. And you can also see meeting of plate boundaries was also a good answer, and geological change, essentially. So today's lesson is about something completely different. It's all about rainforests. And I'm really interested in this because when I first heard about we're going to talk about rainforests, I was thinking, well, hang on, we live in Scotland, we don't have rainforests. But actually, Daniel is here from the Woodland Trust to tell us all about Scotland's rainforests. So welcome, Daniel. Thank you for
Hello.
taking the time to be with us today.
Okay, so I'll just try and get
Looking forward to what
my
you have to show us.
slides up and then I can
Sure.
share. So yeah, I hope you've been enjoying the lessons from the week, from Monday and Tuesday. They've been really interesting learning about our wonderful nature here in this country. And today I've got something exciting to be sharing with you. So I'll dive right in. Can everyone see my slides?
Yes, you're all good.
Yeah, okay. So I am Daniel, and I work for Woodland Trust. And Woodland Trust, their kind of vision, we're a charity, and our vision is a world where trees and woods thrive for people and nature. So we have got over 1,000 sites spread across the 4 countries, so spread across Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. And we look after these woodlands for the benefit of nature and wildlife, and also for people as well. So all of our woodlands are open access, and people can come in and enjoy, just get a bit of reconnection to nature. And we look after a variety of different types of woodlands. And one of the type of woodlands that we look after, it's a very special type, which is rainforest. And we're going to get into that today. So I'm going to start with a question. So um, what makes a rainforest a rainforest? Okay, so is it somewhere that's very hot? Does it have to be a forest that's hot? Is it B, that there's lots of rain? Or is it C, that there's home to many species? So if you could chat in your class, tell your teacher. All of them. We've got C, B and C, C, all of the above. All of the above. It's good. So yeah, so um what makes a rainforest a rainforest? Now, this is very complicated because rainforests are very complicated. So, trying to break it down into a very basic term, a rainforest is basically a place where trees have been there for a long time. You've got really old trees and you've got a lot of humidity, you've got a lot of rainfall. Um, and so there are rainforests in places that are very hot. Some of your classes might have been doing projects on tropical rainforests, and they're very hot. But there's also rainforests up in coastal temperate zones, and temperate zones basically just means that it's like cool. It doesn't get really cold, and it doesn't get really hot either. But the main thing that makes it so here would be B and C. There's lots and lots of rainfall that you need to get a rainforest. And then the outcome of that is if you've got trees that have been there for a long time and you've got lots and lots of water and rain, you get home, you get habitat for many species. Um, and so where are we talking about? Okay. And if we're talking about, let's get a map up. Okay. Um, and so this is the band where tropical rainforest is found. So it's on that equator belt, it's here, and it's spread across 7% of the Earth's land surface. Now, conversely, if we look at coastal temperate rainforest zones, you can see there's small dots around on the corners of the Earth, and this habitat only exists on less than 1% of the Earth's land surface. So it's a very rare habitat indeed. Um, it's it's just as important as tropical rainforests, but it's so rare. Um, and if we zoom down further, so we've seen on the global terms, it's internationally important. And then we see in Scotland. Now, here's a map of Scotland, and I think some of you maybe have been doing maps this week. You've been plotting in the country various points of interest that you've been having from the previous two lessons on Monday and Tuesday. And if we look down at this blue band on the west coast, this is what we call the treescape, and this is where we would find in Scotland some rainforests. So because this area has fantastic kind of conditions in order for rainforests to exist. So, and it's the coastal temperate rainforests that exist on this section of the country. So Scotland used to have a lot more forest than it does now, and it's got really old trees, and some of it is still there. A lot of it has been lost, and a lot of it has been changed. But some of the remains of the old ancient forest are still there. And where we get this old forest that's still on that section, you can find rainforest habitat. But even within Scotland, it's very rare. So only 2% of Scotland's tree cover has rainforest type habitats. So it's rare. It's a rare kind of habitat on a global term, and it's also rare within Scotland. So we really need to be looking after it. We really need to be taking care and protecting it, ensuring, because if it disappears, then it's really hard to get it back. It's almost irreplaceable. So Woodland Trust, we've got 5 of our own sites spread across this area that we look after. And we also do a lot of work with other partners and other organisations, with other landowners and communities, trying to protect the woodland, trying to restore it from the threats that it's under, and trying to raise awareness, which is what we're doing here, letting people know about the amazing resource that we've got here and the amazing habitat. That it's so rare, and that it's a home to many creatures, so many species, which we'll get into in a bit. So I'll share a bit about another map. We've got another map of Scotland, and this is all the sites that Woodland Trust looks after. And I don't know if there's any classes here today, this morning, that can see. Oh right, I'm near. We're near one of your sites. But the sites that we've got in the rainforest zone, if you look over to the west, first of all, you've got Uig Wood up in Skye, and you've got Ben Shieldig and Culdrodden in Wester Ross, coming down to Loch Arkaig Pine Forest in Loch Aber. And we've got Denali Wood in Oban and Crinan Wood in Argyll. So yeah, so there's lots of exciting stuff that we've been doing along here, and yeah, so we've been looking at the maps, we know where we are, and then we're going to look at actually what all the beautiful things that exist that this habitat has. It's so rare, all these things, but what does it contain? What species is it? So we've got another question. Okay, so what is this? What even is this picture? Is it a seaweed growing in a tree? Is it B, tree snot? C, lichen? Or any other suggestions? What do you think this is? This picture is showing. My things are beeping up. Okay, yep, we've got lichen, we've got some saying B. Oh no, what's going on? Okay. Yep, so this again is this picture is a great illustration of what's actually going on in the wood, because the picture is actually a tree trunk, and you can't even see the tree trunk because it's covered, and it's really complex because actually there's multiple things in this picture. So the kind of the fluffy green thing that you can see is moss, and the thing that kind of looks like seaweed or kind of looks like tree snot, like the darkish brown thing, and then the light green thing, that's actually a lichen. And so I've got another question for you. Is lichen a plant? No, lichen is a plant. True or false? Who thinks lichen is a plant and who thinks it's not a plant? Does anybody know? True, false. Ooh, that's a Yep, we've got some good. Okay. P5 thinks it's true. False. We think it's a fungi. Okay, so lichen is not a plant. So a lichen is again another complex organism. So a lichen is actually at least two things. So you've got two things living together in a symbiotic relationship. So you've got a fungi and you've got an algae or a cyanobacteria. And a fungus is kind of like a mushroom that's growing together with an algae or a cyanobacteria, and they're able to exchange resources between each other and help each other survive. So the fungus creates a habitat, creates a structure, and protects the algae or cyanobacteria from the outside world. And the algae and cyanobacteria have something within them is chlorophyll. They've got a green pigment, chlorophyll, that's able to capture sunlight for energy from the sunlight, and then it exchange that energy, that resources, to the fungi. So they're passing energy, they're passing nutrients, they're passing protection between each other. And this guy here that you see, we've got pictured. This guy's name is called yellow speckled belly lichen. And yellow speckled belly lichen is a bit of a celebrity in the rainforest world. So if you're in the rainforest and you're looking around and you see this guy, you know you're going to be having a good day. So it's really exciting seeing this thing just taking on its life of its own, and it's lodged onto the trees or onto the rocks nearby. And yeah, it's and lichen is a good example of good clean air quality. So if you're in the rainforest and you're walking around and you're exploring and looking at all the things that are living there, and you see the lichen, you know that it's a healthy air that we've got. Right, and so I've got the next another question. So I've got an odd one out. Okay, A, B, C, D. Which is odd one out? Yeah. And maybe, okay, so we're saying D, D, D. And can anyone say why, for bonus points, can anyone say why it's the odd one out? Their choice? Yes, it's a Minecraft reference. So D is actually it's a biome from Minecraft, from the desert. So very different from a wet, cool rainforest. Um, it's also so pictures. Ah, yeah, B because it's a flower. Yeah, that's a good one. So A, B, and C are also pictures that I took just last week when I was in the rainforest over in Oban. And so this is fresh. It's happening. These are pictures happening right now. That are current. So we've already been introduced to A, so to the yellow speckled belly. And B, does anyone know what B is? What type of flower? Any ideas? Yeah, it's bluebell. Yeah, exactly. Bluebell is a native flower that is so beautiful at the moment in our woodlands, and it's carpeting the woodland floor. Um, and then C is kind of a great example of what we're talking about when we think of the rainforest, because this is a tree that's growing up but the tree is absolutely covered in mosses and ferns and lichens. And so when we think of a rainforest, we often think of, oh, a woodland has trees. And it's true, a woodland does have trees and a rainforest has trees, but the trees are just one thing, within, or one type of plants that's there within the ecosystem. It's the trees that actually create a great habitat for all these other species to exist. Um, and it's that thing, and it's that makes this space so special. So we've already seen how rare that these habitats are in the global scene, in the environment, in the international environment, and even within Scotland, these places are so rare. But it's all the life, the teeming life that's just spilling out of this space, these spaces, that makes it so special. It's all the mosses, all the ferns, the liverworts, the lichens, the plants, the insects, the animals, and humans too. Humans are a part of this space. Um, and yeah, team is so teeming. It's really good. It's full of life. If you can imagine a football pitch, not an actual football pitch, but the size of a football pitch being put down on a rainforest in Scotland, then you would have, within that small space, you would have over 200 different types of lichen and over 200 different types of birophytes, which are like mosses and liverworts, and so many fungi and so many plants and so many different insects. And there's not many spaces left in the world where such biodiversity, where such wildlife can coexist in a small space. That's what makes these places such a treasure. And it's amazing because we've got them here in Scotland. We've got them on our doorstep. We don't need to go to far-flung places. We've got them right here, and that's the thing that makes it so special. So we're seen here with all the different, the magical world that it comes in, because it is, if you go in and you explore, you'll come into this wall of green, and it'll be teeming with life, is the word. And we've got all the insects and all the wood, the trees that are really old, that then die, and it creates dead wood, and the dead wood creates habitat for all these insects, and then the insects are taken up by the birds, and it moves up the food chain until you get smaller animals being eaten by bigger animals, until you get to like predators. And the predators are really special in these woodlands, in these rainforests. And we're very privileged to have in Loch Arkaig Pine Forest. We've managed to put up a camera a couple of years ago, and we've been filming this nest for this osprey, and Louis has been the inhabitant of this nest up in Loch Arkaig. And if we can get I don't know, Kat, if you're able to show the video. Um, there's a video of Louis capturing a fish for Dorsia, and Dorsia is at the moment, she's got 3 eggs that she's sitting on. So 3 future osprey chicks. And we'll watch. We can see.
Already? Shall I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Great. Make sure I share with sound, because you've got to hear the sounds the birds make. They're so cool.
She's calling, and she knows the food's coming. She gets louder and louder, and she hears Louis coming with the food. And can you see the eggs underneath? No, Louis, coming up. and he's caught a fish. And she's like, thank you very much. I'm really hungry. And off she goes. She's like, I want to have my dinner in private. And then Louis comes up and he's like ruffling his feathers and takes a spot over, takes a chance to look after the eggs.
Folks over 50.
And maybe so we've also that was a video of a couple of Sundays ago where Louis had caught that fish, but maybe we could get there's a live camera that you can see of what they're up to right now.
Just a sec.
So
get that up for you.
Yeah, this is fun. I often sign into this just any time of the day. You can type in, you know, if it's in the morning or evening, you look up the webcams, and you can see what they're up to. So, and it's a really exciting time because the eggs, they're almost ready to hatch. So, osprey eggs usually take about 35 days to hatch, 35, 37 days. And so we're expected that we might get our first hatchlings happening on next Friday. So we're like the 17th of May. So it'll be like the 26th of May. We could be seeing some new chicks coming up.
He's looking right at the camera there for a moment. That's very cool.
And can anyone see any, maybe we could write in the chat if you can see any forest material that the ospreys have been using for their nests? You can spy, get in there close and see what stuff have they used? What's their bed? Yeah, sticks and moss, yeah. Yeah, twigs and bark, that's true, yeah. Yeah, and you've got all like the sticks and the twigs round the side, creating a great kind of amphitheater structure, you know, for the soft moss, and all the different bark, and there'll be lichen in there too, and there'll be cool, nice ospreys near the nice. Yeah. It's funny signing into this at various times because sometimes you come into the camera and it'll be like blowing a hoolie right through, and they're just bunkered down, like keeping tight, close, protecting the eggs, and the whole landscape looks as if it's just really wet and grey, but of course that's the thing that's really good for the rainforest is all the water. There's all the high rainfall that keeps all the green things alive and thriving. Yeah.
We watch this all day. It's just so relaxing. Just let me know when you want me to move on.
Yeah. So I think so. We've put the link to the webcam in the resources that I think your teachers will have.
Yes, we have. Yes.
And so like sign up, like look into it like the start of the day or like throughout, but keep a lookout next week as well when there can be when there's maybe some hatchings. Okay, so
we'll be watching in the office to see if we can see eggs hatching next week.
Yeah. Oh. And I'm stealing it back. Okay.
No, of course, that's fine.
So we've gone through where the rainforest is. We've seen here we go. Okay. Yes. So we've seen where the rainforests are in the world, what different types there are. There's tropical and there's coastal, and how the coastal temperate rainforests are so rare. But we've got some in Scotland, and this is why it's really precious and why we need to be caring for it. So Scotland has rainforests. It's just as important as tropical rainforests, but it's even rarer. And I would say please visit one if you can. So rainforests, they're an incredible space for wildlife. As we've seen, they're teeming, they're like heaving, they're just like dripping with different types of all the weird and wonderful green plants and animals, and just it's a magical world. But it's also magical for humans as well. So go visit one. Visit your local woodland, or and explore. Just take a magnifying glass, and see the small world that's there, and all the intricate detail, and just ask that question, like that lichen, like, what even is this? This looks weird. What is this? And find out. And then I've got a last kind of challenge, or that I've got for you, is to share this. So find someone that doesn't know that Scotland's got rainforest, and tell them. Tell them that Scotland's got rainforest. It's really, really rare, and that it's full of life, and that's why it's really special. So, and if schools are going out to rainforest with their class, or to any woodland, you can share your photos on social media and spread the word, because the more people that know about this, and the more people that talk about this, the better. The better that we're going to know that exists, the better we're going to know that we can look after it and take care, because it's so special that it's on our doorstep, and we should appreciate this. We should enjoy this, the fact that it's here in Scotland. So yeah. Oh yeah, and you can put this on your social media, um, doing it. So if there's any questions, or if people have any, have people been to got any woodlands, rainforest or otherwise, next to their schools?
I think there was a question about the osprey, Daniel.
Oh yeah.
Our colleague Joe is asking if they have a regular feeding pattern, or do they just hunt when they're hungry?
So we've got some volunteer fish counters, so that you'll see on the webcam, if you look down at like the comments, we've got fish counters that watch it all the time, and will record basically all the fish that's being eaten, um, and and yeah, and that's a good measure. It's good kind of data that we've got on what's been eaten. But yeah, they're using up a lot of energy, so they will be eating a lot. The
I can imagine.
ospreys will, when they're in the UK, when they're in Scotland, their diet is mainly fish. So when they leave Scotland when it gets really cold in the winter, and they're off to Africa, and I think they might eat more like small mammals, there. But when they're up in Scotland, as you saw if you have the webcam, you can see the loch up in the corner. That's their local supermarket that they just nip down to and pick off a fish. And it's really, so the habits of the fish, of the ospreys, they're flying above the loch, maybe about like 90 meters above the loch or so, and they're searching for the fish, and they can see so well. Their eyesight is so good, and they spot any fish within like the first meter of the loch, and then they'll swoop down. And their average speed normally that they can fly at is like 50 kilometers an hour. But then when they tail and they dip and they dive down straight and they catch a fish, they can go up to 125 kilometers an hour. So in real terms, that's like 77 miles per hour. So it's basically as fast as you're going in the motorway. They're just like diving down into the water, they catch their fish, and then they're up again.
Wow.
And another cool thing about ospreys is that they've got like a third eye lens, or they've got like transparent lids for their eyes that help them, like that protect their eyes when they're diving into the water. So they've got inbuilt water goggles into their eyes, which is amazing. So,
That's amazing. What a
yeah.
cool species. That's fascinating. I'm gonna have to watch more of that webcam this afternoon. We've got a few more questions if you've got time for
Yeah.
one or two more.
Do
There
the
was Yeah,
Yeah,
you can see the chat. Yeah.
so the ospreys, yeah, Louis been returning to that spot again. So I think Dorser's a new partner, but Louis been returned to this one for the past few years. So what have we got here? How, why put
Someone,
up a camera? Why have we got a camera to watch the ospreys? Yeah, I guess to learn about them. So and to see and to see that they're okay and healthy, and also yeah to spread the word. Lots of people don't know that we've got these wildlife, so it's a great way to share. People can be If lots of people are living in places far away from woodlands, they can tune in onto the camera and see the bird of prey and get excited about nature. Um, how many rainforests does Scotland have? That's a good question. So Scotland, so the rainforests we have within that treescape. So that the blue map that showed down the west coast of Scotland, within that there's there's I think there's about 30,000 hectares of woodland that are in good woodland condition, good rainforest species condition. Um, and what that kind of basically means is the size of Edinburgh. So if you know like the capital city from the Ring Road up to the Firth, that area, if we took all the little points all along the small fragments and put them all together, that would be the size. So it's really small compared to like the whole country. And yeah, it's a really precious resource that we've got, and we need to be protecting the different threats. And I
I
think I
think we
saw.
can squeeze one more quick one in
Okay,
before
was
that's
there
our time.
um, um, how many types of different species there are in Scottish rainforest? Well, there's hundreds and hundreds. So yeah, there's so many and that's the special thing about. Actually, this is a good one to end on the how many different species, because I don't know if you can see this slide. So we had over in COP26 in Glasgow, there was some people came from the tropical rainforest over in South America, and they came to visit Scotland and we wanted to show them our rainforest. And they came out and they did a blessing ceremony and planted a tree, and it was great kind of skill sharing and like learning about the threats that they've got in their rainforest, and we were talking about the threats that we have in ours. And they said, don't know if you can read this. It was said, so they produced a film during this time, which I can share. I don't think I've put that in the resources, but I can share the film round.
Yes,
It's a really good one to see. And they said that it's been said that if you were to grasp a handful of soil from Scotland's temperate rainforest, then there would be more microbial life between your palms than there are people living on the earth today. That's an amazing thought. That's a wild thought.
that's amazing.
Um,
A beautiful thought as well, isn't it? There's so much
yeah,
life that we can't even see. I mean, there's so much life we can see, and that makes the rainforest special. But
yeah.
there's also layers and layers of life that we can't even see. And that's a beautiful thought. Thank you, Daniel, for telling us all about Scotland's rainforests and all the amazing facts about ospreys that you shared.
Yeah.
That was cool. And I learned so much today, as I always do from all of our live lessons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, I hope that there are so many questions we didn't get time for. So I hope you won't mind if we gather them from the chat, and maybe we can send them on to you and
Yeah,
try and answer as many as we can in Friday's assembly. Would you be okay with that?
yeah, yeah. That would be
Yeah,
good.
cool. Okay, because there's some questions I would like to know the answer to as well.
Yes. No, thank
So
you.
as
Thank you all.
always, yep,
Oh yeah,
okay.
when you.
Okay, sure. Yeah. As always, we ask you, please let us know if you enjoyed today's lesson, because it helps us to create more and interesting content for you, that, is there something you want to learn about, please tell us, because we're always looking for ideas of what you might be interested in learning. So, if you enjoyed it, yes, lots, thumbs up, a little bit, thumbs to the side, and not so much, although I can't imagine learning about ospreys is boring at all, then please tell us. We're running a bit short on time, so usually I ask you to tell us one thing you learned today. Instead, today I'm going to tell you pick out something I learned today, and that is that ospreys have clear eyelids for diving under the water, which I just think is fascinating. So how about after we finish today, you tell the person next to you what the thing that you learned today that you thought was the most fascinating thing, okay? And then you can share that in your class, and then we have more time for questions. Oh, somebody said they're just fascinated to learn that there are rainforests in Scotland, and I have to say, same here.
Yeah.
So what we'd like you to do today is to continue building your own Scottish map. Remember that there are activities in the folder. If you haven't seen yesterday's lesson, you might want to watch the recording and then start your activity after that, because there's a first step to do there. And there's all kinds of things that you can plot on your map and find out where all these things are. And one of today's tasks is to plot the location of the temperate rainforest. So, and if you do your map activity, we would love to see it. I'd love to see, I know so many schools have already sent in photos of them watching the live lessons, and we have photos of pupils making their rope maps of Scotland, which we just loved so much. If you send us a picture, please let us know if it's okay to share it on Friday's assembly, because we'd love to show everyone else as well. So teachers, if you email us at ecoschools@keepscotlandbeautiful.org, please let us know if it's okay to share. If it's not okay, that's fine too. That's not a problem. And you can reach us on all social media platforms at KSB Scotland, and we'd love to see you there as well. Remember, tomorrow we're learning all about folk stories. I'm really looking forward to that as well. I love a good story. If you haven't seen our story time with Alison Galbraith that we had yesterday afternoon, the recording is on our live lesson website too. And that was a beautiful story and a lovely activity to build a story stick. So you might want to look at that as well later on this week. But I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you again, Daniel. I hope we can do this again soon. Let's bye for now.